Hey Dave, how you doing?
Good.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about 525 Churchill here, up in Landenberg, Pennsylvania?
Well, I had a lawyer call me, and he had a friend of his that was a college mate, and he asked me if I could help his friend out and tell him what this place was worth. So I looked at this house in 2003, and at that time the zoning was half-acre zoning for anything under 20 acres. So figuring this house and this land was roughly 16 and a half acres, I figured I could do 10 lots here and leave the rest in open space. So I told him, based on that, I thought this thing was worth about $600,000. So after a couple months in evaluation, he got back to me and he said, well, we tried to sell it for $500,000, we couldn't sell it. He said, would you buy it for the $600,000? So I went back and looked at it again and figured that I could probably sell the house improved for about $650,000, which would leave me the lots, and I'd probably have to spend about $50,000 on the house. Well, needless to say, that was a huge mistake because two things happened. First, the township changed their zoning requirement and made the 20-acre zoning requirement, which was 60% open space, on 15 acres or greater. And since I had 16, I therefore qualified and lost the ability to do half-acre lots. Well, what that brought me down to was 7 lots, including the house. And the largest lot would only be about 30,000 square feet, 3/4 of an acre approximately, with the largest one being maybe in the neighborhood of 1.2 acres. So that diminished the value, but then at the same time, in 2004, Ryan Homes had made me an offer to buy the lots for $165,000 improved. And so I figured, okay, I'm going to spend maybe $30,000–$40,000 to bring in the roads and utilities, etc. And should be able to get it done normally in about 18 months is what the surveyors and engineers tell you. So went on, told the guy I'd buy it, and we started. The first thing I had to do was, there were 14 trees around this house. Average tree, as you can see here, these trees are 50 to 100 years old or older, are about a 30 to 40 inch base on them. 3 of them were actually against the house, and you can even see the house. They had an asphalt road that came up this driveway and looped in front of the barn, came all the way around in front of that beech tree, and came right up to where that compressor is, and then came back out to where we're standing. So that's what was there. This whole field out here where that little tree is, had a tree that was 40 inches there, and another one in front here, and 2 more on the front side. So when we clipped the trees out, which cost me $11,000, I was already over my budget. So I started. And at the same time, I started a subdivision. Well, Franklin Township didn't like the initial plan, wanted us to do multiple plans. We went to multiple meetings, and finally it got down to a point that I had to go to my septic engineer, who did all the perks for the wells, to etch out the areas that couldn't be built on this 16 and a half acres. So what you learn is the fall of the ground creates runoff, and the runoff basically keeps some of the ground wetter than other parts of the ground. So if you can't get your perk test done, then you can't build a house there. So what happened here was, if you look up on this field, you'll see it's like a fishbowl. Well, everything in the very bottom, for about 100-foot diameter and across this thing is always wet. Therefore, it will not perk. So the township had their own idea of how this thing should be laid out. And a year and a half later, after I finally realized my engineer wasn't clear on what was going to work, I went to this second engineer, and he etched out, and then we came to an agreement of where the lots could go. We ended up with 3 lots on the top of that hill, and 2 lots back here behind us. And then the barn has a separate lot, and the house is on a separate lot because everything falls away. So that's the subdivision plan, and that's what's been worked on, and the county has approved it, and the township has one more thing they want. 2.5 years after this project started, they determined that they wanted a water modular done, which is a test well to see whether or not, if a well is put on any of these lots, it would suck the water from any of the surrounding neighbors and diminish their quantity of water, so that therefore it would be a detriment on them. So that's the last thing I have to do here, from what I understand, to get my approval through the township. The house itself, at the same time, restarted. As you can see, this back corner where the door is and the bay window, initially that was a 2x4 wall, and there was a 9/9 pane glass where that bay window is, and the door was where the compressor is, and there weren't any windows on this side. So we ripped out those walls because every time you open the door they'd shake. We put 2x6s insulated, and inside you had red painted slate on the floor with that 4x8 siding they used in the trailers, masonite type siding, almost like a finished wood look, and a couple closets in there, and so the room was pretty bad. A little wildlife going through. So we decided to rip that room out because you had to go through that room to get into the kitchen. And you didn't want to have an access like that because it was a detriment to the property. So what we did was we gutted the whole room out. And again, every time you do something, you find something else. Well, when you look at the wall, inside wall, that was actually the original stone wall. There were 2 windows there, which are still there. And to the right was a window that was framed in that went into the bedroom on the first floor. And when you went around inside to that bedroom, you had 2 2x6 closets. No, 2 2x6 closets and a 6x8 bathroom with a stone wall that was just mildew, because they never had it sealed and they just ran the shower on it. So what I decided to do was cut that window out, make it a doorway into, we'll call this the breezeway. That breezeway, you will see later on, is about a 20x8 foot master bath on the first floor, and the master bath that was on the first floor was converted to a master closet. And we eliminated the other closet so that the room is now more usable, doesn't have a lot of cut-ups, and it's just a nice master bedroom. So now you've got a first floor master, and that's how that happened. The kitchen was just big enough, but in the kitchen they had a small bar area, and then behind it they had a washer and dryer on one end of it, and then the other end was just utility purposes. So what I did was I decided to make a breakfast room over here at the entrance to the door, so you could sit there and you'd have the view out the bay window. And then we got into the kitchen area. You want to go around front?
Yeah, so that's pretty much the history of where we're at right now with the house and how you brought it up to you know, purchasing it and dealing with the development side of it. So let's go around and we'll take a tour of the actual external features of the house. You want to go ahead and do that now.